Welcome back to our notes today. We are in our first lesson in Unit 5, and we're going to talk about some triangles today and some properties of them. First, let's have some vocab, an interior and exterior angle. So I'm just going to quickly just draw a triangle here. So here's my lovely triangle. All the inside angles are considered interior. And then the exterior angle is right here. If you extend a side of the triangle, um, exterior means like outside, that'd be an outside angle called an exterior angle. All right, and then a corollary basically just means that I get piggybacks off of a theorem. Okay, so we're gonna learn about one corollary today. Anyways, yeah, so let's look at types of triangles. We can name triangles by sides and angles. So first off, if zero sides are congruent to each other, that's called scalene. If two sides are congruent to each other, that's called isosceles. And if all three are congruent, it is called an equilateral. And then we can classify triangles by their angles. So if all three angles are acute, we call it an acute triangle. If we have one right angle, it's called a right triangle. And if we have one obtuse angle, it's called an obtuse triangle. What I like to think of is just look for the largest angle. The largest angle, if it's acute, means it's a acute triangle. If it's a 90-degree or a right angle, it's a right triangle. If your largest angle is obtuse, you have an obtuse triangle. And then if all three angles are congruent, it is called an equiangular triangle. Little fun fact, all these angles are all going to be 60 degrees each if you have an equiangular triangle. All right, next page. So here are our theorems. The first one is the triangle sum theorem. A lot of you already know this. That just states that the sum of all of the interior angles, so all the measures of the interior angles, add them together, it equals 180 degrees. Then we have the exterior angle theorem that says, hey, when you have an exterior angle, that is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So I'm going to maybe say this one right here and this one right here. If I add those angles A and B together, you will get the measure of angle 1, which is the exterior angle. And the corollary to the triangle sum theorem says, hey, if we know we have this right angle here, which is worth 90 degrees, and also knowing now that all three angles add to 180, then that just means angle A and B add to equal 90, because the other 90 is a given. So it's just a shortcut. So now let's apply all this stuff. So here we have extra practice problems, 1, 2, and 3. We want to classify it by the sides and by measuring its angle. So I don't have a protractor here with me, but we're just going to mark some things in here. With number 1, I can see that Q looks obtuse. And so we're just going to assume it's obtuse. So that means this is an obtuse triangle. And then if I was to take a ruler and measure these, I would notice that all three of these sides are not congruent. So then I would call this scalene. So it's an obtuse scalene triangle. Now, let's say in number 2 that we measure the angle, and angle C here is 90 degrees. What I would say is this is a right, and then I can say scalene triangle. Because I'm going to that AC is not the same length as AB. And then in number 3, if I measure these, I'm going to notice that these are acute angles. So this is an acute triangle. But because I see that we have two sides that are congruent, it's an isosceles triangle. All right. And then classify this by its sides. This would mean that we'd want to, do the distance formula. So technically on number 4, you'd want to do the distance formula from A to B, and then from B to C, and then from A to C, and then we can see what those are. So I guess I can do that really quick. So let's figure out A, B. So that distance formula is going to be 6 minus 9 squared plus 6 minus 3 squared. And then from B to C, we're going to have 9 minus 2 squared plus 3 minus 2 squared. And then from A to C, we will have 6 minus 2 squared plus 6 minus 2 squared. All right, so let's figure out what all these are worth. So give me a minute as I put this in my calculator. So I just put all those in my calculator and I got the following sides. Since all three sides are different, this would be a scalene triangle. All right, let's go down to these last couple questions. All right, find the measure of the exterior angle. So the exterior angle theorem says that the measure of angle 1 here is equal to the two non-adjacent interior angles added together, which would be 53 plus 53. So the measure of angle 1 equals 106 degrees. Now for number 6, I can say that 8x minus 5 equals 40 plus 5x plus 15. So let's do some solving here. We get 8x minus 5 equals 55 plus 5x. If I subtract the 5x, I'm going to get 3x, add the 5, I get 60, and that means x equals 20. So I want to find the exterior angle, which means I got to plug my 20 back in way up here. So that's going to give me 160 minus 5, which means the exterior angle is worth 155 degrees. All right, let's look at number 7. In a right triangle, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a right triangle. It says the measure of one acute angle is twice the sum of the measure of the other and 30. So twice the measure of the other and 30. So we have an angle here. So let's go ahead and write twice the sum something plus 30. So this right here is to be twice the sum of an angle and 30. And this one is just going to be angle X. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the corollary. So instead of putting in the 90, let's just say that 2 times X plus 30 plus X equals 90. So if I simplify this, I get 2x plus 60 plus x equals 90. I'll get 3x equals 30, so x equals 10. So find the measure of each acute angle. Plug 10 in here, I get a 10-degree angle. And then I'm going to get 80 degrees for the other because I have to add to 90. And I can double check that it works because I plug 10 in here. 10 plus 30 is 40. 40 times 2 is 80. So those are our two angles. All right, there are the notes for today. So if you have any questions, reach out. If not, we'll see you either in class or in the next video.